Why discipline without self-compassion leads to collapse. We've been taught that discipline is the ultimate key to success. But if you're pushing your body to the limit without an ounce of self-compassion, you aren't building a future, you're engineering a collapse. So on our episode today, we're going to explore why your ambition is outrunning your nervous system. We'll dive into why your body keeps score even when your mind refuses to listen, and why slowing down feels so much like falling behind. We're going to try and bridge the gap between ancient stoicism, modern neuroscience, and then our own weird wisdom that we love to throw in there to find why your hustle might actually drive your survival response. So we're going to try and jump in. If you feel like you're running out of time, this is where you need to be. Why discipline without self-compassion leads to collapse. So if your body was a business partner rather than a tool, would it still be working with you, or would it have filed for divorce years ago?
I think that's definitely an important self-reflection. Because what that's saying is that, you treat others how you differently to how you treat yourself. Quite often it's obvious if you're working with somebody that is not fulfilling, number one, their role, but also your needs as a business partner. But when it's yourself and it's like, okay, would I fire me right now? Is another way that I've looked at it before. I think this is part of the reason why I work so hard. It's like every job I've ever been in, I've been got rid of because I don't have it anymore. It's like, so would I fire me right now is a question that I've taken with me throughout any business venture. It's like, if I had a proper job, what would my schedule say to do today? And if I don't do those things, what would my boss say? And you've almost created a character to make sure you can live up to your expectations. The problem is when you're in control of that and you want to get a lot done, you've got to be a pretty harsh boss on yourself, because what's the actual punishment for you not doing it? Feasibly, nobody's going to punish you because you are the boss. But I think in terms of if your body was your business partner, would you be happy or would you file for divorce? It's a very, very deep and interesting thought process to go through. It's another angle of the same thing. I'm curious to know what you would think about that. Do you have similar thoughts?
So it's an interesting reflection, like you say, because it does require you to go a little bit more introspective and ask, how am I treating myself? Am I working with myself and with my body and listening to the signals it's trying to give me? Or am I disregarding them for the sake of what we might call discipline? Because, don't lie, like we always say discipline is super important. It is, absolutely. But if it's coming at the expense of burnout, fatigue, exhaustion, just your body trying to tell you signals, and you're not working with your body, then is discipline what it's cracked up to be sometimes? It is interesting. It's a real deep dive into this. So I have got a question. Do you think people are more honest with themselves or more honest with other people? The reason I ask is because you were saying, if say you're working with a business partner, would you be more honest with them? Or would you be more honest with yourself when it comes to working alone? So do you think people are more honest with other people or more honest with themselves?
I think I have a two-pronged answer.
Please tell me.
I think you're definitely more honest with others than you are yourself, especially in a business relationship, and probably a mature adult sexual relationship as well. You should be open and honest with the other person, because communication is what the business or relationship lives or dies on. Secondly, I think you're also more honest about others to yourself. So that allows room for judgments, for all of that area of thinking. When it comes to yourself, you're definitely going to judge yourself more harshly than probably anyone else will judge you. But will you be open and honest about your biggest weaknesses? I think those are things that in our own heads we try and cloud and we try and hide away because it's not something that we want to deal with.
I like how you're approaching it. It's a lot more layered than just a simple question, like you say. So it is a case of trying to understand where you're at and what your self-talk is. So I definitely think there's some people that might say they're more honest with themselves because they can be open. They don't have to lie. They don't have to pretend. They can just strip down those mirrors and those walls that they've built up and just be with themselves and meet them where they're at. I would like to think that's somewhat of a healthy answer. But then when people tend to turn inwards, we can also look extremely negative, or we can look overtly positive and inflate one's sense of self. But then there's also likely people that are probably more honest with other people than they are with themselves. Where do you think you sit on that? Are you more honest with other people? Or are you more honest with yourself?
It's definitely been a development journey to get here, but I'm definitely more honest. Well, before I used to find it really difficult to be honest with others. I used to people please. I used to feel like I wasn't worthy of being in the conversation in the first place, and therefore wouldn't be honest because I was worried that my opinion would lead to them chucking me out of the conversation, not being a part of the group. Now I'm able to be honest because I respect myself more. I don't feel like I have to please people. My circle will form around me, and I'm the center of my universe, not me being a part of everyone else's, if that makes sense. In terms of honesty with myself, it's very difficult for me to understand. We were having a conversation in one of the short videos about sort of if you want to have open and honest communications with other people, how you've got to make sure that your intentions are correct, but also you've got to meet them where they're at. I struggle to do that with myself because I don't know really what my intentions are to start with, and then I don't know what level I'm at. So it's very difficult for me to come to terms with being honest with myself in terms of maybe how I'm feeling, or whether or not I should work 16 hours today or whether I should work 5 hours today. I look at it very logically, which doesn't allow any room for how you're feeling.
That actually sounds like a very honest answer of the question, though. So maybe the irony is you're trying to search for more than the actual answer is. Because honesty is just being authentic. It's not having any lies. You know, you're honestly saying, I don't feel like I know myself maybe as well as I should do. That's a pretty damn good answer when it comes to honesty. And I wonder how many people can say the same. They go, you know what? I don't know exactly who I am, but I'm trying to work it out every day. And they're open and honest with themselves. And they have discussions saying, did I like that? Yeah, I think I did. Am I working hard today? Maybe I could do a little bit more. So I think it's more, is someone having a dialogue with themselves? Are they trying to put up a facade for themselves? Are they trying to pretend they're more than they think they are or less than they think they are? But I think it's really difficult because then it just touches on the idea of the ego. And really, the ego is just how we define ourselves, and the ego is constantly changing. And you might find that you're more honest with yourself after a really good day because you can just reflect a little bit more naturally, or vice versa. If you've had a really bad day, you might see yourself exactly how you think you see yourself, but your lens can be tainted. And I definitely think it's a difficult thing to be completely honest with yourself, especially if you're working towards a goal, because I think you've mentioned before, there's times where you almost have to not be honest with yourself. You have to lie to yourself to try and achieve more.
Yeah.
You know, which is almost probably the sacrifice of self-compassion in many regards.
Yeah, there's a saying by Alex Hormozy, which is you shouldn't ever do your best, you should do what's required. Because that removes the gap between your ability and what needs to be done. And there is no room for self-compassion there. It's like, no, you just do the work until the thing is done. And that could mean that the work is you doing learning. It could mean the work is you doing whatever you need to do. To just, the result comes first, not you.
So I suppose this is where this prompt that we've got here, which is why discipline without self-compassion leads to collapse, has some validity, because discipline can override the body, but it's temporary. You know, so even without compassion, it's yeah, without self-compassion, you're likely going to start to crumble, or your foundations are going to show their cracks. It's not going to be a solid foundation. So we've been taught that discipline is about being a drill sergeant to ourselves, you know? But if your discipline is built on self-hatred, it has an expiration date. So I'm curious whether you can truly like bully yourself into a life you actually love. Can you discipline yourself enough to the point where self-compassion is irrelevant because you're building what you love? You know, it's a real tough thing to grapple with. Is sometimes you have to put your head down and be disciplined and tell yourself, no, you need to get this done. You need to have that discipline, that drive. You know, God knows you sit behind your computer for hours at a time when you need to get shit done. And it's admirable. You know, it is. It's awesome. But if it comes to the sense of self-compassion, where do we draw the line?
Yeah. I think one of the proxies I've used for how much time I've spent for myself in the day is when my step count is below 500. I know I've just been working.
That's awful.
Yeah,
below
right.
500. I aim for 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
And I often hit about 12, 13 every day.
My minimum that I'm allowed now is 5,000 a day.
Good, I like that.
And it's inconvenient, to be honest, because it's very easy for me to just sit at my desk all day because I have like my list of things to do now is longer than there are hours in the day, which means that I have to start pushing work back and things, which in one way helps with scheduling because it means that you've actually got some things to schedule. When you first start, you don't know what to do. Everything's all over the place. Everything feels like a hip-fire decision. Once you start getting things in terms of a process and you've got a backlog, for example, to edit, it's very clear that if you edit that video, there will be one more piece of output done. If you don't edit that video, that's going to have to be edited at some point. And then on top of that, you've got schedules and release dates and things that need to happen. So scheduling in time to go for those walks and making the time for yourself it feels every decision now is a trade-off. It's like, is this a me decision or is it a business decision?
I suppose that's what people have to weigh up is it a me decision? Is it a business decision? Does the me outweigh the business? And what are the benefits of picking one over the other? But without compassion, that discipline becomes an internal violence. So it's progress driven by punishment rather than care. And I worry that progress driven by destruction, or punishment rather, is inherently unstable. That's what I worry for people that find the need to be overtly disciplined at the expense of their self-care or at the expense of their compassion. Because discipline can be self-abandonment in disguise. You know, when discipline is rooted in self-criticism, growth becomes conditional. You know, I'm only worthy if I perform.
Yeah, I think the idea of discipline as well is you don't need to be disciplined when you're motivated to do the activity. Discipline is doing it when you don't want to do it. So we know discipline is required for success in any facet of life, but the very nature of you being disciplined means you are doing things that you don't want to do, but are doing in the grand scheme of, I hope to see a result from this one day. So it's a bit like with you in the gym. I think you've said before, you're doing activities that your future self will thank you for. That's probably the healthiest way that I can interpret discipline. Is because you're not going to feel like you want to do things every day and you can't just 100% put yourself first all the time, because the person that you are now will never improve or evolve into something that you like the look of in the mirror 5 years from now or 10 years from now if you aren't doing activities that set you up for long-term success. So it's one of those things in life where the balance is important. You have to prioritize your health and emotional care, but at the same time you must also achieve these certain business goals. And running those side by side, they're a massive contradiction because you can't do one at the same time as doing the other.
Yeah, when I think about that, you're right, and I'd like to jump off the back of that gym analogy. So discipline can become self-abandonment in disguise. That discipline can create momentum. Of course it can, but it comes at the cost of emotional safety. So that self-talk, that harsh self-talk rather, is gonna feel productive. Stop being lazy, get in the gym, build a better body. Come on, you look like shit. Let's lift heavier weight. Come on. All those kind of harsh self-talks are gonna feel productive in the moment because that shame is gonna create urgency. Urgency is gonna create action. But at that moment, I'm sacrificing any self-compassion I have, any space to allow my body to feel what it wants to feel. As I said to you before, there's some days where I push through a workout when I really should not have done. And I tell myself I feel fine. And I get to the end of it and I feel like I've been hit by a fucking bus. And I'm just dead. So the next day I'm just wiped. And I'm like, if I'd rested for this day and just worked out the next day, I'd likely would have been fine. But I used that negative self-talk as positive affirmation towards the end goal, which that negative self-talk came at the expense of my compassion. So my question, I suppose, on the back of that is, if someone's discipline requires you to ignore your own pain, is it actually strength, or is it just high-functioning form of self-abandonment?
I think it's both.
It's a really tight line, isn't it? I suppose you're walking here with the possibility to lean on both sides at different times, because I suppose being able to lean away from your own pain and ignore that at times where you really need to get your head down, hell yeah, that's strength. That requires so much determination to make it happen. But I suppose maybe the dark side of that, the flip side of that, is it is high-functioning self-abandonment, because you're disregarding how you feel just to get something done. So what do you think?
So I think I said it was both. I want to justify that. So being able to do work that compromises your sense of self and your self-compassion is a sign of strength. It's strength of character. It's I'm willing to do the work at my own sacrifice for the end goal. And the end goal usually benefits more than just you. So it's a selfless act, but selfless, meaning you're putting yourself in a lesser position so that you can achieve it, but also selfless as it does have a end result for others. What was the other side of
high functioning self-abandonment?
Yeah. So you're able to achieve things, which is good. You are high functioning. You're doing work that is oftentimes complex and difficult to do, but you have completely abandoned your sense of self, which is a big sign of weakness, because you are, as you're pushing forward and you're functioning on this higher level, you're actually leaving a bit of you behind. And, people have used different analogies. If you leave yourself behind, that's fine because you're going towards the new version of yourself, or all these more holistic approaches on what the self is and where you should find these different characters throughout your life to take the position of. But the reality is actually, if you level up in one area so much and you've been left behind in terms of your self-compassion, then you're only going to know at that point how to be horrible to yourself and motivating yourself in a negative way, but you won't perceive it as negative. That's just, if I'm at this level, because all the signs around you are saying, no, I've grown my business. I know that I'm at this level, therefore I must be at this level in all things.
That's what lights the fire. That's what keeps me going. So you wouldn't see it as like an inner tyrant, would you? You would see it as your shining light of inspiration and motivation, not this inner tyrant. So if we were using discipline to fix a version of ourselves we find unacceptable, when that fixing, quote unquote, stops, the collapse can be major. It can be depression, it can be burnout, it can be a loss of sense of self or identity. I suppose that's the body's response to stop the discipline that's coming at the expense of yourself. So it's navigating, am I doing this because it's the right thing to do for future self, or am I doing this now because I'm fueled by some sort of negative energy? The only way I can really explain it for me is the gym. There's days where the body dysmorphia is awful, and I look at myself and go, Jesus Christ, like, you look like shit. And I'm like, if only I went to the gym, or if only I wasn't eating as much. You know, I should go to the gym today. I really should. You know, like, I've seen other people on Instagram go to the gym. You know, I should definitely go. Fuck it, yeah, I'm just going to go. And there's times I just don't want to. I feel awful. So, like, that's sometimes the inspiration. So that's the wrong reasons. Whereas if the motivation is, yeah, no, future self is going to thank me for this. This is a really great idea. I feel good about this choice. It aligns me in a positive light. Then, yeah, that's likely the right reason to take it. So it's understanding where that motivation is coming from. You know, I've always tried to implement a rule now when it comes to body dysmorphia in the gym, which is like, if a motivation feels fueled because I've had a big day of eating, or I know I've got a big day of eating coming up, or I'd feel guilty because I feel bad about myself, then I know the motivation is coming from the wrong place. And I try my best to listen to it, but it is extremely challenging.
I think it's good to have those guardrails in place. I feel like that's something I've not ever implemented, but could definitely think about doing now. It's just identifying what are you going to be your allowable terms of discipline, but when are you going to say, no, enough is enough, now it's time to work on something else?
Because it also requires discipline to rest as well, because it's a different type of discipline, but it's still the future self that's going to thank you. Again, I'm only using that in regards to the gym. I know there's different types of like discipline of when it comes to different pursuits, but when it comes to the discipline to rest, you know, I think it was Mike Israetel that famously said something along the lines of like, some of the best bodybuilders worldwide, they go to the gym and then do nothing because they understand the body needs to just recover from the brutal session they put themselves through.
Yeah. I think it also equates to business. It's like discipline for me, it would require discipline for me to rest because it's doing an activity I don't want to do. It's like, what is the definition of discipline?
I suppose it can also play out in like relationships as well. You know, if you're trying to show up every single day because you think that's what's best for your relationship or your friendship group, and you're not ever taking the time for yourself just to relax and chill, you're never going to show up as the best version of yourself. Whereas if you're messaging your partner, or say you don't live together and you plan to go on a date and you're like, hey, I know we planned, but I'd love if we can just reschedule till tomorrow. I need a day where I can just give myself some self-care, providing the person is responsive, which I'd like to think they would be if you've chosen them to be your partner. That is discipline to put the relationship first, because you're not then trying to give them some of your energy from a half-filled cup. You're waiting until you've replenished it and you can give them 100%. So I suppose like this discipline is, like you say, it's finding what is the right positive use of the discipline rather than overwhelming sense of discipline all the time. Because I fear that collapse, it's not going to be sudden, it's going to be cumulative. So it's not going to be a case of, like, the burnout isn't ever a surprise for someone, you know. It's never like, oh my God, I'm burnt out? What? You know, it's a slow erosion of the trust between your body and your mind. It's a slow erosion of the constant graft that you've put in again and again and again when your body's not been ready for it. It's your mind telling you, nope, you need to keep going. Only weak people stop. It can be the downside of that David Goggins mentality. And he's actually, a lot of the fitness community are arguing back to that mindset now because it's not beneficial for people. You know, not very few people on the law of averages can demand that much from their body all the time.
Yeah. I think maybe something else worth adding to that conversation is you should never be proud of being burnt out. It's something I've struggled with. I used to see burnout as the goal. Like, yes, I did it. I pushed myself to the absolute max and now I've crashed. Like, that is there a better... It's like in the gym, I pass out a lot when I go to the gym because I push, you know? And there's, you know, I probably don't eat enough, which contributes
Probably.
towards that. I probably don't have enough vitamins in my body, and I probably don't have enough fuel in me.
Probably.
And then I don't train for big bulks at a time, and then I go back and push like I'd never stopped training. And all of those things contribute to me passing out. But in my head, if you pass out at the gym, that means you left everything on the line. Like, it's a dumb mindset. So it's burnout, passing out. Those are not positives. All that shows is that you don't know how to budget your resources to be able to do things most effectively.
That's awesome. That's fucking sick. That's, I think, one of the smartest things you said.
Really?
Budget your resources to be able to effectively manage your workload.
Okay.
I love that, man.
I've woken up now.
I can tell. You've had a Coke and your eggs and you're ready. You didn't even have your eggs, you just had toast.
Lurpak. Don't know what magic they're putting in Lurpak these days, but it's
Crack.
made me smarter.
It's like when they used to put cocaine in Coke.
Glory days. Difficult to buy now.
What, cocaine or Coke?
The Coca-Cola with cocaine in it.
Is it? I'm sure they have in Colombia somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I've got a question. Do you think compassion weakens discipline?
That's really tough.
Do you want me to share first? Because
Yeah.
I think it does not weaken discipline. I think compassion is going to sustain discipline because it's exactly what you've just said. If your compassion is there, it allows you to effectively manage your workload without burning out. Because that compassion is going to meet you where you're at. You're going to understand if you can push one day more than others or if you need to step your foot off the gas one day more than others. That self-compassion and not demanding 100% discipline all of the time. Well, I suppose discipline is a part of, compassion is a part of discipline. But I think it's going to sustain it.
I think it gives the discipline longevity. Do I think... What was the turn of phrase?
Do you think compassion weakens discipline?
If we define what discipline is, which is the pursuit of or participating in a punishing event with no immediate results, and compassion, which is meeting yourself where you're at and acting accordingly, there is no place for compassion within discipline. Like there is no... Maybe there is discipline in compassion because you might not always want to act compassionately towards yourself, but that would require discipline for you to do that. I would say discipline in terms of the pure thing of participating in a punishing event without immediate rewards doesn't have any space for compassion. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. I think you should have targeted discipline, but compassion should be implemented at the same time. Does that make sense?
So they've got to coexist?
They've got to coexist, and compassion contradicts discipline in the same way that discipline towards a goal contradicts self-compassion. But you've got to run both simultaneously to be able to be balanced.
Most optimized results will come from coexisting between the two. Because I think if people allow compassion to thrive within their discipline, they're going to be able to persist and sustain for longer when they feel internally supported. Because you're going to build that self-trust. You know, I know that I'm going to be consistent in the gym, even on those days where I know I need to give myself a break. Because I know one missed session is not a start of a new habit. It's just me listening to my body and understanding what I need at that time. It's hard to believe, especially in those moments where you're trying to get yourself the motivation to the gym. But I also think if you know yourself well enough, you know the signals to look out for. For me, when it comes to the gym, I know if I want to go to the gym, I'm straight out the door. Like, straight out the door. But if I take a little bit of time, I can't decide what to wear, what shoes, what do I need to pack, I likely don't want to go. And then it's in that moment, it's like, okay, do I not want to go, or do I need to not go? So I think compassion absolutely exists within discipline, and I think it only makes your discipline stronger. because I don't think it weakens discipline at all. I don't think it should ever be used as a way to weaken discipline, because I think compassion doesn't even have a place within discipline in that regard, because discipline, if you want to do something, you will. And the discipline is doing the hard thing even when you don't want to do it. Compassion is just understanding when you can't do it. Not when you don't want to, just when you can't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because for me, discipline without compassion doesn't build strength, it just builds debt. Whether that debt is mental fatigue, physical exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's just going to build that debt, really. So I suppose questions people need to sit with is what happens inside of me when I fail. When I don't perform. Is there discipline an act of self-respect or a self-punishment? Would I speak to someone else the way that I speak to myself? These questions, you can reframe it, allow you to just sit with whether your discipline is filled with self-compassion or not. Asking what's the most loving thing I can do right now that still moves me towards my goal. Sometimes it's pushing, sometimes it's resting.
Yeah.
It's tough though, isn't it? Because what discipline automatically implies doing the hard thing when you don't want to. But compassion's got a role to play, without a doubt. So if we treat discipline like a master and the body like a servant, that's almost what you can suggest on the negative side, like discipline as the master and the body as a servant. But when we ignore the servant's exhaustion, where does that energy go? If it doesn't come out in our work, does it just stay in our cells as illness or anxiety? Where does that go if we ignore the exhaustion? Any guesses of where we think we might go?
I mean, I can only really speak for me. For me, I've become more irritable. And definitely take it out on the people around me. Which then, weirdly, helps me push people away to allow me to work more, which then contributes to more work that makes me feel like I have even more to do, which then makes me treat people worse, which then leaves even less room for self-compassion, which then makes me do more work because I don't want to be around people, because when I'm around people I upset them, or people don't want to be around me, so then I do more work. And
so it's a spiral.
Exactly. And then eventually you burn out. Eventually your body goes, right, I'm done. And you've got to have 6 to 18 hours of can't do anything.
Yeah, it's because the body is keeping score of all the decisions your brain has made. So whether it's chronic tension, shallow breathing, insomnia, irritability, as you mentioned, IBS, sleeping issues, they're not character flaws. Sometimes they are just your body saying this pace is not sustainable. We need to rein it in. I need to rest. I need to regulate. Yeah, like this one's deeply scientific, and I know we are not scientifically inclined, but you can lie to yourself with your thoughts, but your nervous system is a perfect bookkeeper. It remembers every stressor you've pushed down, so it's trying to look at how your body eventually forces the conversation that you've been avoiding. Have you ever noticed that you get a cold, a headache, a migraine the second you finally take a holiday? That's happened to me. I remember when I went to the Canary Islands, literally for a weekend. We flew out there on Friday, started getting a migraine, had it on the Saturday. Friday, Saturday were rights off. Sunday I got to enjoy, and then flew home on Monday. It was such a waste of a holiday because I was so exhausted that when I got on the holiday, my body was like, oh, we can relax. Now you got a headache. And now you had a migraine. Now you're out for 2 days. I was like, oh. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My dad, when he was working, he was quite high up in the company, and he used to have to, like, if he was going on holiday, he'd have to take 2 weeks, because the first week would be him winding down from work and stopping his head spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the second week he would be ill. Every time.
How demoralizing is that?
That was just his reality.
Brutal.
Yeah.
It would make you not want to take a day off, which I get. I empathize. It'd make you go, oh, fuck this. But that's horrible. I can't think of another word for it.
Yeah.
If your dad's listening, it's horrible.
I found it really interesting though, because it shows sort of the power work and discipline can have.
It's the adrenaline, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like you are literally burning yourself from both ends. It's like you have a pursuit, and like he was employed as well. It's just as bonkers, because why would you just work to make other people money? Anyway, he would work so hard and have so much going on and so many things to organise that a week of not working, like, first of all, that just as a concept is insane. And then
To you.
yeah, to me,
To you.
Chuckle Brothers, R.I.P. A week to slow your head down, and then to be able to predict that then once your body can relax, then you are ill straight away. Because it's your body going, right, this is the only way that I can get all of this like gunk out of my body, is just to literally make you ill.
Yeah. It's what they call the letdown effect, isn't it? So the adrenaline's going to mask the physical stress that your body's been under, because the body doesn't know what you're going through. Your head can try and tell it all the signals it wants, but your body only knows stress. And that adrenaline's going to keep you going, and it's going to keep you going, it's going to keep you going, and eventually that's going to wear off, or you're going to take a break, and you have to take your foot off the gas. You can't work at 100% forever, and that adrenaline will wear off, and then suddenly you're unwell. How many jokes have you seen of the middle-aged women? Like, Family Guy made a joke of it as well. It's like, I cannot get sick right now, and they always get sick.
Yeah.
Because they can't. Because they're like, I just can't do it. Crazy. It is scary, but the body is always going to listen. So the body will always speak when the mind refuses to hear. What goes unfelt becomes embodied. So what I think is really cool is the body will not argue with you. It will just signal. It will tell you subtleties, and it will tell you louder and louder and louder until you finally listen. If tension, fatigue, pain, illness, they're messages that were sent, and they get louder and louder as time goes on, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
It's daunting because the body's always going to be listening, but it is really cool to suggest that your body is listening. Your body is going to keep score of everything that's going on, which shows how important it is to look after yourself. So if your chronic tension or your mystery fatigue is actually a message, what is your body trying to tell you that your mind is too afraid to admit? That is likely what people need to ask when it comes to this sort of deep question, the body keeping score. If your chronic tension or your mystery fatigue is actually a message, what is your body trying to tell you that your mind is too afraid to admit?
Yeah. It's difficult because you've got logic versus biology, almost. It's like the logical answer is, do you want to make money this month or not? Therefore, you must work. The biological answer is, you've been working for the last 28 days straight and you haven't had a day off at all, and you've been working more hours than you would normally do. I need rest. Like, I don't care about your bills. I don't care about your future plans. It's like, if you keep doing this, I'm going to shut down. And then eventually, as you say, it gets louder and louder. I love that analogy of your body. It'll start off with whispers, which would maybe require a 15-minute break to get over. A bit of food. Then it's, room volume. Then it's outside voice. Then it's shouting. Then it's yelling. Then it's screaming at you. And then it's just, it almost just kills you.
Smacks you over the head with a baseball bat.
Literally, it gets to that point. And that would obviously be the burnout.
So it's somatic storage, if you've ever heard of that term. So somatic storage refers to the concept that the body, not just the brain, holds memories of experiences, especially trauma and stress, in physical symptoms, such as muscle tension and postures, and influence present physical and emotional states. So it's the body's memory is often unconscious, but manifesting as chronic pain, anxiety, or specific movements. You know, how many friends have we heard that are always injured? And I've always tried to say to these people, where you're likely not injured, it's likely that your body is stressed and fatigued and something else is wrong in your life and your body's trying to tell you, it's just you are not listening, dude. And you've been injured for the last 4 years with different ailments. Wow, yeah, definitely injuries. So somatic storage is physical manifestations, and you have to address it. You can't just leave it unanswered because it's always going to take root. It's always just going to sit within you. So your tight shoulders might actually be the physical weight of an unspoken boundary, for instance.
Yeah.
So what happens when the body finally says no? It's breakdown, it's burnout, it's illness, it's boundaries we've never enforced that are just going to come crashing down.
I think more than the physical aspect of burnout, where you don't want to, you just feel lethargic, you want to just lie down all day, your body doesn't have the actual energy to keep up and keep going, is the psychological waste that you pick up at that point, which is then all the emotions on top of the burnout, which is like, oh, I should be doing this, and this. Like, I need to do this much, and I just don't have it in me. Therefore, I am not worthy of whatever position I'm trying to get to. So your self-talk then becomes really damaging. So it's almost like from the self-compassion side of everything, because you've just been so disciplined and working towards this end goal, is it then actually starts to fight back by itself. It not only stops you from working, it then makes you hate yourself for stopping working.
It's a catch-22, and it just gets worse, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So suppose the next questions we got to look at is, what are the pathways to healing this? What are the pathways to understanding what my body is trying to tell me? The first thing to come to mind for me when I think about this is bottom-up regulation. So using the body to calm the mind through yoga, deep meditation, movement, but there's also a lot more that goes into this, like I mentioned, somatic experiences, the somatic therapies as well. So mind-body connection, thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations are interconnected, and understanding that. So you then got to understand and focus on the sensations. So guide the person through the body feelings. You know, where do you feel tightness in your body? Where do you feel warmth? Where do you feel energy? I did this with my therapist as well. It gave me to imagine, put the awareness completely into my body. Where is it? How did it feel? Was it tight? Was it warm? Was it throbbing? And trying to just breathe some life into that. There's a lot more that goes into somatic therapies as well, but you can reach out to therapists in your area that will practice it. And it's just trying to align the mind and the body and get the body better at talking to the mind and the mind better at listening. Which is, you know, easier said than done.
Well, it is, because the mind thinks that its job is to think.
Imagine that,
It is to do the thinking. It's like, it is the machine that keeps the body going. But at the same time, we're now saying, no, actually, brain, you've got to listen occasionally. You know?
Yeah. It's funny, yeah, but the goal is to catch the burnout weeks before it happens, because you've learned to read the early warning signs. And I've always been awful of that, and I'll laugh, you'll laugh. When I was in my last relationship, my ex used to be able to tell me, you're gonna have a migraine soon. She'd be like, I don't know when it's coming, it'll be in a week or two, but it's coming. I went, no, it's not. She said, it is. I'm like, okay, so how do I slow down? She's like, fuck do you know, mate? Like, you don't know how to do this. She was very supportive, but she could always spot it before I could, because she would notice patterns within me. So you've got to try and learn to catch those early warning signs, which is difficult. So I suppose the questions someone has to ask is, where does my body hold tension when I won't slow down? What sensations do I keep trying to override or ignore? And what are these sensations trying to communicate? because the body isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to keep score to keep you alive. It's holding on to these things because it's telling you it needs to process them. It's not trying to punish you. So, well, if our bodies are screaming at us to stop, why is the act of slowing down so terrifying?
If I had the answer to that, I probably wouldn't work as hard as I do.
Yeah, it would solve all of your issues.
Yeah.
You'd be able to sell a book. Will has solved life. There you go. Yeah, if our bodies are screaming at us to stop, why is the act of slowing down so terrifying? Why does our brain interpret a moment of rest as a total loss of momentum?
It does.
Or complete failure.
That is literally how it feels.
Yeah, I know. We were doing the research into this, and that was the trend that kept coming up is for high achievers, for people that feel like they need to keep working, for people that are completely motivated and disciplined to achieve a goal, or passionate about a goal, or trying to fulfill their meaning in life. The brain can interpret rest as a total loss of momentum, like a grinding halt. The brakes have been slammed on, or worse, a sign of failure.
I think it's probably the mismatch of your expectation versus reality. It's all your plans that you had for yourself and what your rough plan would have been for that day, and then your body going, no, absolutely not. It's that mismatch that creates this isn't only a lack of momentum, this is like you've come off the rails completely because you're not even on the same track. If you, what do you mean you have to have a day off? Like, it's unbelievable. Like, that was not part of the plan. You are only just about going to get to your goal 7 years from now if you work every single day. And now you're telling me that you're going to have just forced me to have 18 hours off. Like,
so it's the unspoken pressure that one puts on themselves.
Absolutely.
The demanding ineffability perfection, both internal and external. So why can slowing down feel like we're moving backwards is the question we need to ask. I suppose it's both internal and external because we live in a culture that's obsessed with momentum, and recalibration can feel like regression. If you're not moving forwards, what are you doing? If you're not constantly demanding excellence, what are you doing? So there's both that external but also that internal of, like you said, even if you're not aligned with your goals, but if you are aligned with your goals and you're working hard to achieve something, that pause, that temporary break, even if it is temporary, could feel like a grinding halt to momentum. Slowing down is going to feel like failure.
Yeah.
But psychologically, slowing down is often integration, not regression. It's integration of all the work we've done. It's integration of the past experiences we've had, all the lessons we've learned. Because we've got to integrate that growth on this path, because if we don't integrate it, it's not going to last. You're not going to have learned from that lesson. So I suppose it's getting from how do we feel like slowing down feels like moving backwards to slowing down feels like integration. So in a world that's sprinting, walking feels like failing. But sometimes you have to slow down to sharpen the axe. So we have to look at the withdrawal symptoms of slowing down. So I suppose I've got a question for you, Will. When you were deciding to take a break or to simplify your life, did you feel peaceful immediately? Or did you feel like a loser who was falling behind the competition?
I felt like I was making a decision against my will.
Against your will?
It was like, I'm just going to have to force this to happen. It's like, I don't naturally want to take breaks, and I don't take breaks anyway. So if the only way that I'm going to stop working is if I actively book something away from where I can work.
So do you think you're falling into like a comparison trap where if you feel like you aren't hustling 24/7, you're becoming irrelevant?
Yeah, irrelevance is a huge part of it, especially in my career. But I think another element is I know what I can achieve if I just keep going. And if burnout is the price to pay for that, that's a price that I'm actually willing to pay.
Because momentum can create identity.
Yeah, for sure.
Speed becomes proof of progress as well. You know, if you can work hard, it's showing that you're likely, not always, but likely gaining momentum and developing quite quickly within your chosen field or avenue. But without movement, people fear they're losing relevance, direction, or worth. You know, almost by definition, if you're not moving, you are directionless. However, that's not necessarily true, because that pausing allows you to take stock of where you're at and reassess the path you're on, which might feel like stalling, but really, like you said, it's that integration. It's that understanding of the path you've taken, and is the path you're currently on the correct one? And you might be like, yeah, cool, I've taken a breather, I'm on the right track, let's go. Or might be, you know what, wow, yeah, I've learned loads, but I want to slightly pivot. Pivot.
Yeah. No, I think it's also when you're getting given advice from people about maybe you should slow down, maybe you should take some time off, identifying what their motivation for saying that is important as well.
As in the person that's asking. Okay.
Because what is their stake in the game of you not working as hard? Do they have anything to gain from you not working?
Interesting, your first thought is to perceive a threat from someone asking that question.
Well, I see it as maybe your goals aren't the same goals as mine. Maybe it's not possible for you to, I'm not saying you, I mean...
Yep.
Maybe it's not possible for you to conceive of how I would work 12 to 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day. You can't do that, but I can, and I'm fine with that. Like, it's for me to work a 16-hour day feels like you watching 16 hours of Netflix. It's not a thing. It's just fun. I enjoy it. It's what I do. So if something is inconceivably mad to somebody, to one person, it might be completely normal and fine for somebody else. Now, how that ties into self-compassion and sort of understanding why taking breaks is important is if you're in check with yourself, then you know it when it's okay to listen to the other people around you telling you to take a break, / yourself. I've got a break coming up this weekend. Very excited about it, going to Cornwall for 2-3 days. I know for me that was a preemptive strike because I was probably going to burn out in the next 2 to 3-4 weeks with the way I'm going. So, and especially with this month that we've got ahead of us where we're doing, 10 to 15 podcasts a week, plus all the editing for that, plus a shorter day on my main channel, plus 3 other videos on my other channel. Like, that's a lot.
Heaps.
I need to have 2 to 3 days where I can just not do any of it and then really go for it when I come back. And then I'll need another holiday after that.
Yeah, you can come to Thailand.
If I'm allowed. My girlfriend lets me.
You can come. I give you
I need
permission.
to send her away with her brother.
I give you permission. But yeah, so it's how do you identify if your need for speed, your need for speed is a sign of ambition, or if it's just to stay blurry, if that is a crack in the foundation, or if it is simply driven by positive affirmations. So it's really hard to understand and look at, but you've got to, again, go into your self-development chest and start looking internal, start looking within yourself is, where is this need for speed coming from? Is it driven by the right inspiration, or is it driven by negative reinforcement? That's really where people would have to start looking and understanding, am I abandoning my sense of self? Do I feel like I can slow down without moving backwards? What's the connotations, the negative issues with slowing down? Okay, is it going to be because I'm going to feel things I don't want to, or is it because I genuinely am scared of the prospect of it? it's trying to understand that moving fast often creates the illusion of progress without the reality of it. But slowing down can feel like backwards because it forces you to deal with the inefficiencies you're outrunning. So it's not as easy as we've maybe made it out to be, why slowing down can feel like moving backwards, because it's very nuanced and you need to almost have a decent level of self-understanding before you can step into this realm of trying to understand it.
Yeah, and also where you get your advice from to build the person that does do all this work in the first place. Because I've become what I am through rigorous training of watching lots of other people who are successful and taking on their behavior traits to become the person that I need to be to do the work that I need to do. So and you do that against your will. You don't want to do that. You don't want to change necessarily who you are, but you might want the end result. And therefore you acknowledge the fact that it's going to take some character development and changes to actually get there. So right from the off, you're becoming something you're not naturally, so that you're able to do difficult things, which is fine. But then you train yourself that the signals that say you need to take a break now, you need to stop, that then is disregarded, because all along you've been saying to yourself, oh, well, I wouldn't want to do this, but this is what you do to be successful, so I'll just continue doing that. It's a horrible line to walk.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to try and reframe stillness then. Reframe slowing down, not as doing less, but processing more. Because I think a lot of people disregard how profound it can be slowing down, because slowing down often precedes breakthroughs. So every major internal shift is preceded by a period of disorientation. You don't leap forwards, you recognize first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to whether people are able to have a slight reframing of this slowing down, of the slight foot off the gas, to allow for more processing to happen, both growth, business, relationship, whatever it might be. Because true character is built in the space between tasks. If you're never stop, you're a machine, not a person of character.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a machine or a person of character?
I'm a man who wants to be a machine, who is tied down by character.
Yeah, okay, I like that. But interesting whether you can integrate a little bit more character in there.
Yeah.
A little more sprinkling of will.
I don't think anyone wants that.
I suppose when you try and shift out of this and look at possible outcomes or steps towards growth, is redefining speed. Because true speed is velocity. So speed and direction. If the direction is wrong, the speed is a waste of time.
Yeah, and it's probably an average speed that you want to take, not what your max speed can be.
It's the consistency. Can you stay consistent in your velocity with the speed and direction that it's maintainable and achievable in the long term?
Yeah.
Both personal development, business, relationships, social, whatever the fuck you want to fucking label this as. I don't know why I swear twice there. I'm getting passionate. But it is. It's making sure you've got a good level of velocity. Is your speed manageable? Is your direction correct?
Yeah. And another angle on the average speed would be, say you quite happily cruise along at 5 units of work per day, and then you take a day off, and that is net 0 in the day. It's okay, because if you add 0 to an average, you do, 5 times 5 is 25. Yeah.
The pause there was worrying,
Yeah.
Will.
And then you add 0 to that, it's 25 divided by 6. You've still got a positive speed as an average over those 6 days. So the day off didn't actually detract at all.
Yeah, so I suppose the vision for this is You stop running and you start building. You realize that the person who can slow down without panicking is likely the one in the total control. In total control.
Absolutely.
But easier said than done.
Yeah. All of this stuff is easier said than done.
Yeah, well, we talk about it easily, don't we, mate? We're perfect.
Yeah.
Well, one of us is.
Yeah, it's true. You do bring the side down.
So yeah, questions for people to maybe reflect on is, what am I afraid will surface if I slow down? Have I mistaken constant movement for progress? What might I need to integrate before I can move forward honestly? Slowing down only feels like moving backwards if your self-worth depends on speed. Do you think your self-worth depends on speed?
No.
I agree. Even though I know how hard you work, I agree. Because I think you define yourself on output, not speed.
Yeah, speed is irrelevant. It's like it's just proof of how long can you stick. It's the infinity game. Can you keep the game going? How many units of work can you do? Not how quickly can you do them.
Yeah, agreed.
What about you?
My self-worth depends on speed? No.
Even the gym?
I think I have a very complex relationship with the gym, that I know that doing more is not going to equal more results. I train a fair amount a week, and I am almost like, sometimes this isn't sustainable, dude. And I'm not trying to be a professional athlete, so chill out.
You wouldn't believe it by the way you train. Nutter.
I love it. I do love it. So, discipline without compassion breaks trust. The body speaks when that trust is broken, and slowing down is often the repair process. If people want to train to follow the episode, that's how I'd sum it up. So, what if the pause you're resisting isn't a setback, but a recalibration your system has been asking for?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe your body's just screaming, asking for you to just take a little bit of time, connect with me a little bit more, because without self-compassion, discipline is just a sophisticated form of self-harm.
Yeah. And I've been harming.
So maybe you just need to introduce a little bit more self-compassion in there, man.
Yeah, take it easy.
Take it easy.
Take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Sort the money.
Breathe a little bit more.
That.
Well, I'm sure there's a middle ground in there somewhere, bro. Yeah. But I'll let you find that. I'll let you dig around in it. I don't want to get in that mess with you.
Don't blame me.
It's nasty.
I don't really want to be in it either, but here I am.
Nah, fuck you. Yeah, you can't lie to your nervous system. Stress is like psychological debt that eventually will just come. But yeah, man, it's been a full-on one. I've enjoyed it. You've been in with me. A lot. Yeah, so why discipline without self-compassion leads to collapse. How the body keeps score when the mind won't listen. Why slowing down can feel like moving backwards. It's been full on. What's your word, man?
Compassion.
You'd use bigger words than I use.
What did you use?
Apple.
Oh.
No wet
Back
fish
to
today.
The fruits.
Yeah.